After owning the Tesla Cybertruck for over a year, I recently sold it back to Tesla due to many issues that I had with inverters and motors disabling on me. And so now I'm considered an EV free agent, so to speak. And I've already looked at the Hummer EV, I've looked at the Rivian R1T and R1S. And now I'm back at Mark Christopher Chevrolet in Ontario, California. I have Alex Sarabia here with me. He's gonna show us both the Sierra Denali EV as well as the Silverado EV RST trim. And we're gonna look at all their features. We're gonna do a test drive. And then at the end of the day, we're gonna see if I'm gonna be buying one of these. So let's go ahead and get with Alex. Let's take a look at them, go do a deep dive, and then we'll go ahead and take a test drive. All right, so we have Alex here, Alex Sarabia.
Sarabia, yep.
So we don't want to get him confused with the other Alex. So
Fair enough.
Nothing against the other Alex, it's just we like this one more.
Yeah, there we go.
So we're outside, we're looking at the exterior of both the Sierra and the Silverado EVs. Let's kind of look at just right off the bat what we notice as far as differences between the two, because essentially they're the same truck.
Same truck, same drivetrain, same dimensions. But cosmetically outside, they're dressed differently.
Yeah, okay. So let's go ahead and look at that.
GMC, obviously different front end, different. Still has both front sensors as the Chevy does. You'll notice that the Denali has fog lights, whereas the RST is not equipped with the fog lights.
Yeah, that is something that's kind of curious. I mean, unless they're not considering, is this considered the headlight?
Yep, that's your headlamp.
So that's the headlight.
Yep.
And then, oh, I see what you're saying. So we have,
this is your headlamp here.
but then there's also fog
below.
lights down here. Okay, I got it
Some
now.
people drive a truck, never use them, but just in case.
That's interesting. So that might be just part of, because the Denali would be considered more of a premium.
It's the premium.
Okay.
There's still, you never know, there might be a higher trim level to come on an RST.
Okay.
You know? So maybe you'll see a high country down the road, but these are both very similar though for what you're going to drive and the dimensions inside. As we're looking inside, one of the things you're going to notice is the Denali has some nicer higher end materials, some recognition of the Mount Denali, the actual coordinates of the mountain.
Oh, interesting.
You look at the stitching here, it's going to be a little bit more, let's just say, complicated, a little bit more dressed up than the standard leather on the Silverado. Biggest difference, though, you're going to see is the way that the technology is presented. You've got the portrait mode screen there. I have it set up on the maps. All of these vehicles are equipped with Google Assistant to call out all your navigations, put on a Google profile, and that's what it's going to be looking like. And you'll see when we get to the Silverado the difference between the two. Now as we proceed to the back, you'll see the same stitching here. You'll see rear heated seats. You'll see fast charge USBs too for the passengers in the rear. And that little box or lid there is for a 110, 120 AC outlet. You know, want to plug in the toaster.
There you go. Yeah.
Charge the laptop, all that good stuff.
Yeah. So one thing that I noticed that I commented on my Rivian video was the rear seats and how they fold up. So can we see that?
Absolutely. Yeah, let's do that.
How do we do that?
Yeah, I'm just gonna go on the other side. If you look beneath where the seat, you'll see a rip cord, right? Yeah. I'm just gonna pull that cord. When I pull that cord, I'm gonna go ahead and pull out the seat there.
It's a two-hand maneuver.
Yep. Okay. It's okay, we got it. I got it. Okay. So we're doing that first. Okay.
Okay.
Second, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go.
Now we're already at this point. Do we do the Midgate?
That's where we're working towards
okay.
right now.
All right.
That's where we're working towards. So we're dropping this. Let me make the seats prepared. So this does come flat. I'm gonna pull this here. That's gonna help me release the top of the seat. There's a button here to bring the headrest down. So now you've got a flat surface. Your easy up or whatever else you think would have length for that will be. Now, what we're going to do here is, there's actually a button here. That's going to release that. Okay. Now you're seeing this. You notice the back here is the back that's out there. So any materials there that are hard will actually, So what are we going to do? We're going to push This button here, you see that little button there?
Yep.
Okay. I don't release it. We're
Ah,
gonna bring this guy down.
Put some muscle on.
That's all. That's all. It's here. Well, yeah. Far from it, but that's fine.
Even at this position, you don't need to release anything else, but you have this extra length, which I think equates to what? How many feet?
It's over 10 feet.
So you have over 10 feet of space here, which is plenty for most. I mean, that's more than enough for most people. But even for people in construction, or even just a casual trip that once a month to Home Depot or Lowe's, and you need to put some 2x4s or
Long
whatever.
pieces of material. It's piping. It's wood. It's the kayak. It's an easy up that you're trying to accommodate. You have an event that you're doing for your business or just with family on a barbecue. You'll have more utility. Then if I go here,
And I like how it has this ramp, so to speak, so that way when pushing things in, you're not really running into any issues of things get snagged. Okay, so you just pulled.
Yep. Go ahead. Okay. That's going to remove the glass.
Maybe you got to push that one in. Yep. There you go.
So now we
Okay,
can
so that's
release this.
actually, it seems like, and that's like a safety thing, right? Where
Correct.
once you release it, it doesn't fall on you.
Correct.
Ah, okay.
So you can just have it open up there.
Now, is there a space to store the glass so it doesn't?
Yeah,
Break?
there is a storage spot. I just know that on the when we get it here, we'll release it. So
Okay, maybe we jumped ahead.
yeah, we did. We should have taken off the glass first, but
Okay.
still accomplishing the same thing. No, it's supposed
Maybe
to.
you just slide over more. There we go.
Ah, there we
There
go.
we go.
Thanks, Eric. So, and then now
There
it's
we go.
done. There we go.
So we're
then we
just
can start off and
fumbling
record.
around over here a little bit, but that's okay. Okay, so now you take the glass down.
Now, see, there's a latch there that will hold the glass in place. So push the latch down.
There
you
we go.
That way, it's not making contact with anything.
Okay.
And then these are again bracing it from having direct contact with the glass as you're driving.
Nice. So they thought
And
of
they go
everything.
into the spots. They go
Okay,
into
so
there.
there we go. So
There we
now
go.
we have the glass, right? Which is also kind of nice, where even if you wanted just some ventilation, you can just take down the glass alone
Correct.
and store it behind the seats, the rear seats.
That's correct. Yep, absolutely. You want to be able to take advantage of that, you can.
This is a cool representation of what you're able to get.
I mean, typically to have this kind of length on a truck, you're buying a long bed, 3,500.
Which is what I had. I was telling you off camera before
Yeah.
we started.
Sure.
I had a Ram 3500 with the 8-foot bed.
Yeah,
But even 8 feet isn't this.
correct.
So
And you don't have to have the problems that come with trying to park a vehicle of that length or park it or maneuver it in
that's
certain
true.
areas.
That is true.
So that's a nice benefit there.
That is true. I didn't think about that.
As we make our way here to the back, we're going to show you how the folding tailgate. You might have seen this on other trucks. They didn't forget about you if you bought the EV, right? They wanted to make sure that everybody has the same accommodations with this multi-flex tailgate, the multi-pro tailgate with GMC. So then it can serve as a backstop for anything that may slide back, to help keep items in the bed. You do have LED lighting here. Oh, the gardeners. And if you look over there, you actually have multiple outlets. I'll open them up for you to see what they look like inside. So, multiple outlets, whether it's just a regular standard AC plug, or you've got like a 240.
So you have 4 120s, and then you have one 30 amp
Yep.
240.
Yep.
Okay.
And this has the bi-directional charging. So if you have the home charge unit, you can actually power your house under different circumstances. I mean, maybe up to a week of power. It all depends on the setup that you have.
Yeah.
But now in the age where there's blackouts or brownouts, it's a nice thing to have without having to run a gas generator.
There you go.
You just plug in your truck to the house.
There you go. Which was interesting that I had that on the Cybertruck, but for whatever reason, Edison never approved it. It's all installed in my house, but I never got an approval from Edison, so it was never activated. But I have it all. I paid, had it all installed. I don't even have a Cybertruck anymore. I wasted a bunch of money.
There we go. There we go. And then as far as the rest of the way that you can function with this, if I hit this guy here, now I've got like a little working area. If I've got a laptop, maybe I'm a business person, I have to visit clients, appraiser.
Or you're a YouTuber.
Or you're a YouTuber.
You want to use this as a little pedestal?
Absolutely. You could do that. You know, it could be where you just set up your laptop, margarita machine, you name it, have your lunch here, but you can plug right in there, okay?
Look at this, Alex. Who needs a tripod?
You don't,
Now we're ready
not
to
with
go.
that, man.
Yeah.
That's good, that's good. If I go ahead and open up here, the nice thing is that, let's say I did have something higher profile. You know how I showed you that backstop when the bed was down? This will serve as a higher profile backstop for, you know, somebody that might have maybe a little table up in here or something that rolls, can utilize that. And then, let's see, one more worth mentioning again. Let's say I do have to reach into the bed. Typically, here's my belly. If I'm reaching in here, that's the length of what I can reach, but just simply doing this allows me to reach a lot deeper into the bed. Okay, and then if I drop this here, now I've got a step up. So I'm not much of an athlete, I won't show, but I could grab on here, I could step here and climb into the bed, you know, which is nicer than having to have a stool or a ladder or anything like that. We can talk about the technology inside the Denali, or we can segue into the RST Silverado.
Well, so one thing that I was mentioning before was how there's things on the exterior of the Silverado that I like more than the exterior of the Denali, but then there's things that I like on the exterior of the Denali that I like more about than the Silverado. So one thing to know, number one is the face, right?
Let's go back to that real quick.
So when you're looking at the face of both vehicles, I mean, they're both handsome, right? They look good. They both look good. But for my preference, I lean towards the Silverado. I just like the angles. I like the LED strip, the badge, you know, the bow tie. Just everything about this. I prefer it over the Sierra. But a big thing for me that it's hard for me to get over is this flare in the back.
Got it. Yeah, that was a good observation.
Yeah, on the Silverado, it's more aggressive. You know, gives me Avalanche vibes, which there's nothing wrong with that. But I much prefer the Sierra, how it's minimal compared to the Silverado. So that's one thing that I think I prefer on the Sierra over the Silverado. But I do like the front and overall look of the Silverado. That's a tough one, of which one I prefer.
Some people like coffee, some people like tea. So the nice thing is that as you see that, somebody else might see it different. And at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we've got options.
100%.
You know, and that's a nice thing. At Mark Christopher, we have the GMC and the Chevy. So if you were to look at either one, it's nice to visit one spot and have the ability to see both and save a trip to somewhere else.
And then there's also steps back here.
Yep.
On the side of the bumpers.
Corner steps on both, just for a little bit easier access to hop in.
Well, so one thing that I noted on my Rivian video is it doesn't have a traditional bumper. So even using the bumper as a step, you can't. You have to use, it has a tunnel storage area. You'd have to open that up and then use that as a step up. So that was kind of a little different.
Sure.
Something I'm not used to in a truck.
Just a little quick peek at the charge port, illuminated charge port for evening, and then if you look here, your DC fast charge. So nice thing about that is for people that have the range anxiety, they can use that DC fast charge, get approximately 100 miles in 10 to 15 minutes. That's, you know, lunch at the mall. That's Starbucks. I mean, that's not bad.
Not a big deal at all. Once again, the hitch, exposed hitch, which I like, because I've done a lot of towing, and the Cybertruck having to remove the cover was annoying. The fact that you have the power, and then also camera hookups, right?
Yep.
Why don't we talk about that a little bit?
So the camera hookups can allow for you to, let's say I've got a gentleman that has horses and they want to be able to have a camera that is affixed inside that can look at the horse as they're traveling, towing. It gives you just one more camera angle, one more view to look inside. If you are a truck person, we have the truck pedigree. We have the truck history to now give you the best experience, hopefully, with an EV truck.
Yeah, let's look at the Frunks.
Okay, let's do that.
Yeah, that's actually another thing I've mentioned in videos is the Frunks. The Frunk on the Cybertruck is, you know, it's a decent size, but I wish it was a little bit larger. And yeah, this is a good size. And it has power. I absolutely love that. It has power, cup holders, the tailgating. Cool. There's some tie downs.
Yep, funny enough,
nice.
you've got your cup holder in there, yeah. And then you've got more access. There's another AC outlet for you.
I love that.
Somebody were crazy enough to lock themselves in there, they can push that little button and there's a jump out guy there.
And there's a light, so that way at night, if you're loading this up or unloading it, you have some visibility there.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
That's good.
Yeah, we'll bring that guy down. I did open the GMC one so you can take a look.
Okay, so this looks exactly the same as the Silverado as far as space-wise. Has an outlet, has the same cup holders down over here. So, yeah, identical. And that's the thing, is that these trucks are essentially the same truck. There's just, some minor differences as far as just the way they look. And then obviously the infotainment system, which we're gonna dive into right now, that's also gonna, be a little different. And then you get some different wheels, but 22-inch wheels on both, which I'm not too keen on, just because I'm probably, if I went with one of these trucks, I'd be doing some off-roading, so I'd swap this out, probably put some 18s on there and some bigger, beefier off-road tires. So that's one thing that I don't like on these. I think in that scenario, I might consider, if I was to get a Silverado, the LT trim, because it's going to come with the 18-inch wheels and the street tires, but I'm going to replace those anyway, so I kind of can save some money on the wheels. But I mean, that's a decision for a later day. So not too worried about that today.
You would find yourself using it a little bit more if it's readily available. Uh-oh, look at this guy, rascal. So
okay, so I just found the button for the Frunk. It's right there.
Physically there.
So
now we can check on the the Silverado, so you can see that there's not that same.
Yeah, I don't see anything there.
That you can press.
Yeah, I don't see anything there. So that might be just something that is because of the Denali. All right, so should we get into the Silverado first?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do that.
So both trucks are going to have their pass-through area like you have there. So let's go ahead and start it up.
Okay, so we're inside. Okay, so there's a lot of glare, so I apologize for that. But I like that there's two screens, right? We have the infotainment screen here. We have the cluster here, which once again, Cybertruck didn't have. Huge thing. Camera in the rear view mirror.
Yeah, the HD camera mirror that, vehicles that have it is just a nice thing. Myself, I don't have a lot of mobility turning my neck, but if you look here, you'll see this white building here. You'll see the edge of this building in the door on the camera. But when I go back to a traditional glass mirror, I'm limited to what I can see. There's only so much a piece of glass can show you. Whereas if I switch back, you'll see that it's significantly more peripheral vision. You'll see that white building and some of the trees. And again, it's just something that you can use at night if you have difficulty seeing at night. You can adjust the visibility on this by moving the screen up and down. You can zoom in, zoom out, or make it brighter for better visibility at night. On the infotainment screen, you have a lot of different icons. You do have the ability to set up all your charging, so preconditioning of the battery, charging at peak hours, the percentage that you'd like to charge the battery. Okay.
1 second.
Yeah.
There. So it's telling us if we charged to 80%, we're going to have 364 miles.
That's correct.
Wow. And right now we're currently sitting at 329 miles at 72%. That is insane. So the Cybertruck couldn't even get 329 miles at 100%, and we're at 72%.
Correct.
What is the... I mean, we could do the math here.
So watch here. Watch here. So you can, as a consumer, I can go ahead and drag this up. I can go to 85%.
Oh,
okay.
Snap.
I can go to 90%, which gives me 409. I can go next to 95%, which would give me 432. And I can go all the way to 100% if I'm gearing up for a long trip.
Wow.
And get an estimated 455 miles on a trip.
Alex, that's a game changer. I mean, you're talking about you're inching close to 500 miles on a truck.
No stops may go to San Francisco, no stops go to Vegas. That's something people like to hear.
Wow, that's huge. That's absolutely huge. So, okay, sorry, I interrupted you.
No, not at all.
You were talking about
wireless charge pad there. So I'll put my phone in there. Let's see. I can put my phone in there. You'll see the charging.
Yep.
You've got your staples of any upscaled truck. You've got your heated and ventilated seats right there. Your Google Assistant. So I can say, okay, Google, directions to Disneyland.
Disneyland Resort is 52 minutes from your location by car in moderate traffic.
So not bad. Pretty instant. Pretty easy.
And then it's also giving you some battery information, 65% on arrival. So that's good. It's all integrated.
Correct. So the big thing about Google Assistant is that it's in tune with the battery, in tune with the car. So if I'm making an extended trip or even a short trip, it can I can predict stops or prepare for stops along the way to get a recharge if necessary. That way I eliminate all the range anxiety.
Okay.
And so it also helps with, I can instruct the vehicle to precondition the battery if I know that I'm going to a fast charge location. Let's say I have the Tesla adapter and I want to stop at a Tesla charge station to precondition the battery at a fast charge. I can go ahead and use that fast charger we talked about, that approximate 100 miles in 10 to 15 minutes.
Yeah, most definitely. And it seems pretty quick. The screen, I mean, there's no lag, right? Let's go. Where's the map?
So if we want to go to the map, we're going to drag right to left, and we're going to look for that icon that we're all familiar with when we're looking at Google Maps.
That is absolutely quick. This seems pretty quick and snappy, and no issues.
You can select different drive modes. You're towing, you're hauling, you want to go off-road.
Let's go to the off-road.
Oh, by the way, the one pedal driving for the consumer that's used to being on the freeway wants to avoid that gas, brake, gas, brake. What they really want to do is, hey, go ahead and accelerate, let off the accelerator. A lot of the EVs have that. We just want you to know that GM has that equipped for you so that you can make your long trip or your daily commute less stressful.
Yeah. Even though Zach doesn't like that, but Zach's a weirdo. So, off-road. What does this entail exactly?
It's just basically going to gear the vehicle, prepare it more for off-road features.
Okay, it says right here, for loose surfaces that require extra traction, such as grass, mud, gravel, and deep snow, provides the wheel slip needed for gaining traction on loose surfaces. Resets when you turn off your vehicle. Okay, so
and it gives you little helpful hints to make sure to utilize it properly.
There you go. Okay.
That's a nice thing about this whole system too. It's very intuitive. If I'm a new person with an EV, it's going to give me a lot of instruction to help me with my questions. Outside of having your local rep, or even there's a concierge phone number for EV owners as well.
Nice. Okay. We can go back to the maps. Less glare. You see my white shirt. I should have probably wore black. Okay. We have the Super Cruise.
Right. So for highway driving only, just to be clear, Tesla has the autopilot, which people can use on their normal, drive on the street.
Yeah.
Ours is geared towards highway driving because everybody's been on that vacation where they had a long trip, and as soon as they got to that destination, they wanted to throw themselves on the bed because of the long drive and the, stress that comes with it.
Yeah. So that's something that I've learned now since I got rid of the Cybertruck that I need. Something that I think I mentioned in the Hummer video when I came to see the Hummer with you was I went to Arizona and I went to Vegas already since I sold the Cybertruck, and those drives were not fun at all, not having some type of autonomous driving. So most definitely something that in my next vehicle I need. One thing I'm noticing is the heads-up display. You can see that there. So that's something that's pretty cool. I think it's being projected from inside there. And so that's just an added little cool feature that, once again, Cybertruck could have added. They didn't, but no big deal. But it's just something that's cool. we have the panoramic glass roof, which brings in a lot of lighting. Now let me figure out, Alex, what if I'm sitting down. This is probably my position. This is crazy. So I was saying I'm about 6'2". That would be my position as the driver. Look at all this legroom.
So essentially a 6'2" person sitting in the front, 6'2" person sitting in the back.
You could probably get a 6'8" person back here. This is...
And you still have decent head clearance for being 6'2".
Yeah, that were probably the 6'8" guy would have some issues. But legroom, absolutely not. Which is something that my kids talk about when we go on road trips. They have their bags, they have their devices, they have a lot of things that they need space. And so that's one thing they did like about the Cybertruck. Cybertruck did have a lot of space. One thing I noticed too is because it has a full center console up in the front, there's no storage in the front on this compared to the Cybertruck. Not a big deal for me, but it was nice having that space up in the front because I would put my backpack, once again, all my gear for when I'm out filming, I'd put my backpack there. It's really easily access. It's accessible for me. So I would be losing that, but I don't think that's going to be something that I would go, oh, that's a deal breaker for me. But that's, you know, something I got to think about because I talk about in all my videos that the important things for me are space, interior space, bed size, autonomous driving, and range. Those are kind of the 4 things that I'm really looking at when I'm looking at the next vehicle. Now, why don't we get into the Denali and we can look at the differences between the infotainment setup and then we'll go for the test drive.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, so right off the bat, you see the big difference of just the way it's set up. Okay, so it's giving us a alert notification that the Midgate is open. That's cool. Once again, we're at 281 miles. I don't see right off the bat what our percentages. So let's see if we could dive into the screen and figure that out. But you see, once again, like Alex mentioned before, the infotainment screen is different. I'm not sure which one I prefer, but let's go here. Let's go to charging. Okay, so 95% will get us 441. 100% would get us 460, so we get about 5 more miles in the Denali. Same thing, very quick, snappy. Everything, you get to everything very quick. If you don't mind, let's go ahead and...
Let's do it. Let's go on a drive and let's...
And let's drive this one.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you this. I know we talked about the stitching and things like that. Mm-hmm. This does feel a little bit more comfortable to me. For me. And I'm not sure if there's any differences at all. There probably isn't. But for whatever reason, this feels just slightly, ever so slightly.
In the past, there have been discussions where some of the Denalis do come with a little bit of a higher density foam. Okay, which might contribute to a little bit more cushion. Like if I'm shopping for that couch for the family at Ashley, right?
Yeah.
The stitching and the leather and the materials are just cosmetic. But if it's a little bit more comfortable, maybe due to that. But I would have to confirm for you the materials being used. But that could be a contributor to that. If you look here, just the portrait mode is a big difference, right?
Yes.
For the consumer. So you've got the big portrait mode instead of the dash that wraps from left to right.
Yes.
Okay. And then you still have your digital cluster there. You still have your HD camera mirror, which is, supplanting the traditional glass mirror.
Yep.
Okay. And you also have the Super Cruise again for your highway driving. So if I want to be able to take that 2-hour drive up north or south, I want to have my legs rested, my arms rested. You can do that. Still got to keep your eyes on the road though. Can't sleep.
Yeah. No hands needed, right, on the wheel.
No
That's
hands.
something that the Rivian did not allow me to do. It yelled at me. So interesting. Now in the Hummer, there was a physical button that I would press to turn it on. We don't have that here, right?
No. So when you step into this vehicle, the moment you step on the brake, you've already started the car.
You're on.
You've already started the car.
Okay.
Car's on as soon as you depress.
Then I just... Okay, and then there's like a little bit of a... You have to push in and then down. So let me show. So if you're in park, you just try to go into drive, it won't do it. You have to bring it towards yourself and then go down. So small little detail. All right, let's go. And once again, we're at Mark Christopher Chevrolet GMC Buick in Ontario, California.
And Cadillac.
Which Escalade.
Yeah, we're going to find a time to introduce the all-new Escalade IQ to you in a future video.
Yeah, that'll be fun. I'm not buying that vehicle, so we don't need to worry about that now. It's out of my price range. But I would love to look at it. And once again, we're here with Alex Sarabia. So if you're in the Southern California area, you want amazing service, come to Mark Christopher, ask for Alex Sarabia, mention his last name because there's two Alexes. But now you know his face, you know his voice.
Older and less pretty.
Well, I don't know the other Alex, so I can't comment on that. Where am I going, left or right?
Make a left.
Okay.
We're gonna make a left, do a little street driving, and then at the end of the drive, we can try to incorporate the Super Cruise if you'd like. A little bit of outside noise because we kept the back window and door open.
But you feel that breeze coming, right? You feel that ventilation. Okay, once again, this is the same spot we were with the Hummer. Do you mind if I
let it rip, man?
Launch it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Oh, yeah. And you hear that motor rev up. So immediate differences between this and the Hummer. Where am I going? Am I going straight?
Straight ahead.
Okay. Is the Hummer felt... I'm supposed to go over there, huh?
No, you're fine. You can continue straight.
The Hummer felt larger than this. It felt beefier and more like had more muscle, it seems like. This seems quicker, but the Hummer just felt like when you hit the accelerator, there's a like it just like the front lifted up. I know I commented on that. The front lifts up and you're in this huge, massive vehicle and it felt meatier, if that makes sense. This feels quicker, maybe even more nimble. I don't know.
That's something that because of the overall weight and size of the vehicle, yeah, you're going to feel this be a little bit more like your 1500 that you're driving today. For the people that have a 1500 looking at an EV, they're going to find a little more familiarity with a Sierra or Silverado EV.
Yeah. Yeah, this is it drives very nice. It's a very smooth drive. Like I said, the Hummer felt like you're in a truck. This is very reminiscent of the Cybertruck for me. As far as I know I'm in a truck, I feel the space of a truck, but it drives more like a car. More like a Cadillac.
There you go.
You know? No, the old Cadillacs, how they're big, like boats. But it just had a certain drive to it, comfort level.
It's funny you say that because often people come in, Alex, when are they coming out with the Cadillac EXT, the old Avalanche-looking Cadillac?
Yeah, yeah.
And, the reality is today, the Denali GMC is the Cadillac of trucks. So the interiors, the technology, they're all very much like an Escalade.
100%. I think that's the differences between this and the Silverado. Silverado seems to be more of a sportier look. This is more luxurious.
There you go.
And I want your opinion, Alex. I'm not sure if you want to give it, but
yeah, why not?
What's your opinion on the screen setup between the two? Because I can't figure out which one I like more. I kind of like the size of this one, how it gives you more map space on screen. But I kind of like the look of the Silverado, how it's almost like one large screen. What's your opinion? Or what do you hear most? Maybe that's the best way to ask you.
Well,
what do people prefer?
I'll say this. My preference, I kind of like this setup.
Okay.
I do like this. I do like the portrait mode. I do feel like for some reason it is a larger screen, although they probably have similar dimensions. It's just the way that they're presented, right? So me personally, I kind of like this. However, like I said earlier when we were outside, you got some people that are coffee and some people that are tea, right? So every consumer, when they set in here, they're going to have their own opinion, their own preference of what they like. You know, and that's the beauty of it. You have options. You're not cornered into one particular truck. So if it is a Sierra EV, if it is the Silverado EV, maybe it's the Hummer that you prefer. You're going to have some options if you're in the market for an EV truck.
The setup on screens and infotainment is much different in these than the Hummer. The Hummer, I think, had a much smaller screen. And then one thing I noticed too, this actually has, for all of the climate controls, physical buttons down here, like the Hummer, and the Silverado didn't have that. That was touchscreen. So just things to note, things to take into consideration, which I kind of like the idea of having these buttons here.
You mentioned when you were outside about the Frunk, right?
Yeah.
And that in the previous truck you had, you found yourself using it more because there was a physical button to touch.
Yep.
So I think that there's something that's lost when all we have is one iPad in our car when you have an EV or even a non-EV, right? Having the luxury or the combination of a physical button and a touchscreen is can be friendlier to somebody that's looking for that, I guess, touch. The same reason that somebody still wants to read a paper book versus a Kindle.
Yeah, 100%. It's all preference, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
There's no right or wrong. Okay, so now we're on the highway. I want to try Super Cruise.
So we're going to hit cruise control first.
Cruise control first. Okay,
and then you're going to hit the Super Cruise button.
Super Cruise unavailable.
So we're going to hit the cruise control button until you see the cruise control icon up here. There you go. Hit it one more time. Okay, you have that. That's like the adaptive cruise. Now you're going to hit that. Now you see the steering wheel that popped up. Okay, and hit it again.
Here, let me get over here.
So when you're in construction zones and places that are a little bit more difficult to navigate, it may not be available right away. There it is, and now it is engaged.
Okay.
And
so we're engaged. I know I probably shouldn't be doing this.
Okay. You're on guard. That's fine.
But you could see here, it's giving me this green light, and we're engaged.
As you can see, no hands on the steering wheel.
Yeah, no hands. So yeah, I'm able to drive hands-free. So yeah, there's a camera here that's watching me. And as long as my eyes are open and I'm looking straight, my hands can stay off, my feet are off. We're going down the highway.
If your head were to slump over, you're not engaged with your eyes and your chin up, then the vehicle would announce that. There would be some audible visual cues to remind you to take control.
I know we're going to head to LA, so we should probably get off.
We'll try the next exit. We want the consumer to be able to take advantage of the great technology. We also want to make sure that the driver is still engaged, that they are driving. And first and foremost, as a driver, it's our responsibility. We're going to make it right here.
Okay.
But definitely a nice thing to have if you have that 1 hour plus commute. If you've got a long trip with the friends and family, to be able to take a load off of the extended drive. Now, on one of your previous videos, you shared how the vehicle can have an increased ride height. This truck is capable of doing that as well. So you have the increased and decreased ride height. So if you are maybe for buying or you just like having that higher clearance, then you can do that on any of these vehicles. Also, they are all equipped with, like we did in the Hummer video, that four-wheel steer capability that allows for the rear tires to turn with the front tires and give you the turn radius on this large truck that you would have on an Equinox or a Toyota RAV4, that mid-size or small compact SUV, right? A five-seater vehicle. This has the same turn radius as that, and that's a great experience to have when you're used to having a 3, 4, 5 point turn like Austin Powers in the golf cart, right? In the movie scene, trying to get out.
No, that four-wheel steer, I mean, Obviously, I had that with the Cybertruck. That just made the world of difference. When we tested the Hummer, that was amazing. And so you're saying it's the same thing here. So that's great.
There's 4G LTE Wi-Fi included on all of these vehicles. We'll make the next right, okay?
Okay.
So if you have up to 7 devices can connect, you could be at a campsite, you could be at the beach, or at a place of work, maybe a convention. 7 devices up to 50 feet away from the vehicle can connect with the unlimited data. You could be at the tailgate, right? A football game, and you've got people checking their fantasy football or streaming the game from the Sunday Ticket or something.
There you go. I've never had a heads-up display in any car that I've ever owned, but I like that. Keeps your eyes just here.
And you can customize the heads-up display, or you can toggle between what you see. You can see the compass, you can see your navigation, you can see the audio source. If you're listening to Sirius XM radio, or you're listening to any station, and you can actually, it'll show you kind of some of the four-wheel drive variations that you have. It is one of the larger heads-up displays in class, close to 15 inches.
Yeah, it's big. There's a lot. It's not, you don't have to squint to see it, right? It's there.
Yeah, and there's a brightness adjustment. You can also change the level of line of sight. So if wife is driving, obviously you can adjust it to her height. If you're the taller guy, you can adjust it to your height. And you can also adjust it so that it's not out of your line of sight if you're one that maybe is not familiar yet or comfortable yet using the heads-up display. Just wanted to give you guys a little look at the little center storage compartment with a fast USB charge as well. This good old guy here is the control panel. Once you touch the control panel, it will open up and give you access to most of the features that you would expect to have, from your lighting to the parking assist to the heads-up display to the dome lighting. You want to adjust the locks in the vehicle, even the multiple camera angles that you can see. Much like the Hummer, you have multiple camera angles. This is a forward-facing angle. Okay, you can also look at the rear, an overhead view that is enhanced here.
Oh,
with the bird's eye. Side wheels. Hey, I'm parking near the curb. I don't want to curb the wheels. As soon as they're out of the way, we'll make our way back to the Silverado. But you can see now where the curb portion to the wheel. Nobody wants to buy their brand new vehicle and then curb their wheels if they're going to go have dinner downtown.
Yep. Not at all. And you know what? The cameras have good resolution. They're very clear.
Yep. There's the bed view. You see if you've got anything rolling around back there, and then you've got the view that puts you right down on the tow hitch, so that
that's nice.
You don't have honey saying little left, little right.
No. Kind of help with the arguments, right?
Hopefully.
Okay, so this was the Silverado EV RST and the Sierra EV. I enjoyed both of them. I know I only test drove the GMC, but that's because they're going to drive the same. I think for me, it hits a lot of the boxes. It has the bed size, the comfort's there. The range is the best that I've seen so far. Now it's just a matter of what fits me, what fits my needs, what fits the budget, because money is a thing, right? But overall, very, very happy with both trucks. I think they're amazing trucks. And, I think what I'm going to do in my next video is kind of just break everything down between all the vehicles that I've driven, and then just kind of give you guys where my head's at and where I'm leaning. But overall, love the Silverado, love the Sierra. Leave me a comment down below and let me know which one you guys prefer, looks-wise, and what you guys think I should get. So overall, really, really happy. Once again, we came to Mark Christopher in Ontario, California. Alex Sarabia was helping me today, so I appreciate him very much. And thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys in the next video.
Enjoy your day.
Thank you.
Hey, man.
Appreciate it.